You may remember a video of ours that we made last year titled, "Should you build or buy your PC?" Now, if we fast forward to 2021, that video does look a little bit dated. We're now living in the time of the great GPU and CPU shortage. The parts that were just one click away are now being met with pre-order, out of stock, or basically you're never going to see it again kind of buttons. Or worse, they're quadruple the price that they're worth. G'day legends, it's JONO here from Thermaltake Australia, and welcome to the Should You Buy or Build Your PC, the 2021 edition. Building your PC. Pros. The biggest pro for PC building, which is something I don't even see changing in today's climate, is just how customizable it is. If you're like me, every build has a certain look that you're trying to achieve. So if you have a certain aesthetic in mind, often building it yourself is the only way you can achieve that without paying through your teeth. You often won't find things like sleeved cables or the specific graphic card model design that you want, or even the awesome sleek motherboard you've been eyeing off for the pre-build. Nope. Let alone having it being a case that you actually want instead of having to settle for the case. Another pro for going the DIY route is the fact that you know how it was all put together. You know the ins and the outs, which cables lead where, what's plugged into that port, and you know if you've been a little stingy with the thermal compound. All of this adds up to you being a little bit more confident, so if dust hits the fan, you'll be able to get in there and troubleshoot without having no idea where to start. Lastly, and it may sound a little odd given the absence of the mythical MSRP right now, but building it yourself means you're able to hunt around for the best prices. Right now, I think the best tactic is to actually go out hunting for secondhand monitors, cases, motherboards, and even RAM, as the secondhand market for GPUs is still kinda gross. Seriously, those of you trying to sell 1080s for 800 Australian dollars, just stop. I guess this is where we can switch over to the cons, because building your PC. Cons. Prices. Right now, people are desperate for PC parts, especially GPUs and some AMD CPUs. This means that building right now can actually be, and I could be wrong here, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but actually more expensive than a pre-built with the same specs. Especially if you have your eyes on a certain big chungus card, you could find yourself paying a whole lot more than you would usually. This brings us into the second drawback about building right now, which is that some parts are so hard to find in stock that it's comparable to hunting down unicorn fur. This is in relation to the graphic cards and some CPUs, and when you do find them in stock, you're probably going to pay a ridiculous 70% markup on them. For places in which GPUs are listed close to MSRP, you're put into a lovely waiting list and are forced to patiently wait for an email notification to say that they're back in stock. Buying a pre-build. Pros. It still feels very weird saying this, but in 2021, the best part about buying a pre-build is the price. You'll find that this year, in terms of bang for buck, pre-builds are looking better than ever. After all, pre-builds are pretty much the only way to get your hands on an NVIDIA 30 series graphics card right now. It sucks, but it's because of the position that resellers are being put in, having to buy bundles where it's more cost effective for them to sell an entire system versus just selling one item. Secondly, it's all done for you. As the name suggests, a pre-build is pre-built. You don't have to worry about the hours of building and the stress you might find yourself in if you're a first-time builder that may have bit off a little bit more than you can chew. Or if you're simply not interested in building, there's nothing wrong with that, and with a pre-built, you don't have to do any building. Now this next pro could slide into what I just mentioned, but I do think it's worth talking about on its own as well. You may not know this, but most pre-builds, I say most because I don't know if everybody does it, are stress tested in-house to ensure that the parts you receive are functioning properly and achieving the results they should be. This reduces the risk of having a part that's dead on arrival by a considerable amount. So with pre-builds, you simply plug it in and off you go. Buying a pre-build. The cons. Like I mentioned earlier in the pros for building yourself, you don't really know how it was all put together. Unless you're brave enough to fish in and take a look, many pre-build owners I've talked to haven't even seen the insides of their PC, apart from removing the protection padding upon arrival. So when a simple issue arrives, you might find yourself in a bit of panic, or sending your PC back to be repaired, which can get a bit costly. Secondly, due to the lack of availability for parts right now, if you buy a pre-build, there could be a chance that if a part fails in your system, you can't get it replaced. So even after forking out the cash for an easy pre-built system, if you find yourself the unlucky one with a faulty graphics card, it's possible getting it replaced might take months. Your pre-build could just essentially become an overpriced, overly large paperweight while you wait. So where does that leave you, and which option right now is the best? Well, I'll give you the cop-out answer and tell you that only you can determine that. But if right now you're entirely PC-less, then a pre-build is more than likely the best option for you, especially if you want to keep to a budget. However, if you have a certain PC case in mind, or a certain aesthetic for your dream build, or even PC building just seems like your jam, then you might have to dive into the trenches of the hardware shortage war and try your luck. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed this type of content or you want to see some more, consider subscribing. It really helps me convince my boss that my job is worth keeping. Like the video if you enjoyed it, hit the dislike button twice if you didn't. Otherwise, comment down below if you have suggestions for other people in the whole PC building versus PC buying pre-built space thing. You know what I'm saying. There's a couple of videos beside me if you want to watch some more content. Otherwise, I will see you hopefully in a video in the future. Bye-bye.
See ya.